All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Corning Museum of Glass and everyone online as well. We are live streaming. John Moran here and our team working on this beautiful piece I'll go into a little bit more, but let's start by giving John Moran and Marta Byrdziak a big round of applause and a warm welcome. Thank you very much. On our team, we have Jeff Mack here on the pipe. Helen Tegler over here as well, helping out. Another round of applause, thanks. And I saw Eric Meek running in too as well, so he's going to be here helping out. Very helpful of him. And I'm Katie. I will narrate this process for you and online as well. So if you have any questions at all, get my attention here. I'm going to jump in and help as much as I can. But also online, we have Amanda helping us out there for that too, so she'll come up to me if you have questions online, and we can get those answered. Also on our AV team, we have Brad, who's going to be around filming. We have Jason, who is mixing, and we have Alexis here on the floor filming on camera as well. So these guys all have, they're going to do really great. And so let's get into talking a little bit more about the piece itself that we're making. We have a lot going on. And so, John, are you good? Do you want that bit now? You're good? Okay, sure. So we have been spending yesterday and today working on this piece, making parts for it to all go together on the whole. And so what we have right now on the end of that pipe is the upper half of a female torso. So it's a little bit of kind of half of that upper half of the female torso. To that, we're going to add the arm. We've already created the arm. It's in, we have two different pickup boxes in the corner of the shop that have parts in there. So we have the arm created with a hand on it. We have a snake wrapped around that arm, and it's going to end in the hand. We have the head of the snake made that'll attach to the inside of that hand. And we also have tree branches that are going to kind of be on the other side of the top of the female torso, and flowers also that are going to go onto the piece. So there's a lot to get to. There's a lot that you will see unfold here. Down here at the table, we have some pieces that we've been working on throughout the week here at the museum, and we have a drawing of what we are going for this piece. With that being said, John has been here with us the entire week. It is day 4 of his residency here with us. And some of you may know him already. He is from Blown Away. He is the winner of Season 3 Blown Away. So what happens when you win a season of Blown Away is you get a wonderful residency here at the Corning Museum of Glass, 5 whole days to make whatever you want here with our team in a state-of-the-art facility like we have here. So it's been a really fun week so far, and we have a lot in store for us now. So stay tuned. Again, questions, let me know as we go along, but I'll do my best to narrate what's going on. I'll jump in here and there as well. So we have glass, and for those of you that aren't familiar with glass, I'll go through just a little bit of the basics. We have a furnace in the middle of our studio that's kept at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, glass moves like honey and it glows. So we take it right out of the oven. At that temperature, it's really gooey, it's malleable. We can add color to it like we already have. We have little granules of crushed up glass color, and this is actually crushed down into a powder. So that powder can easily be rolled onto the piece or sifted onto it. It melts when we go back into the furnace. It'll melt right onto the surface of the piece there. And that's how we get the color in our clear glass. And we have quite a bit of glass here. I'd say we have at least about 7 pounds on the end of that iron. And we've built up a lot of color on top of that. So this is a hollow sculpture so far. The inside is hollow, so that whole thing's not totally solid. If it was, it'd be a bit heavier. So with that also, we're able to kind of push air into it to inflate it and shape it from the inside. That's a really nice characteristic of glass blowing and glass art, is the ability to push that air out into the piece. And so we have that set up so far. And like I mentioned, we have other things that we've made and have been working on for the past few days. In order to add things to a sculpture like this, to work this hot and add things by fusing the glass together, you have to keep everything above about 1,000 degrees or about 900 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have these furnaces, or we have small pickup kilns that have bits and parts in them that we will add to the piece there. So we also have a garage over here that has 2 things in it. one of which is this part of the arm. I for a moment wondered if we had made that, and it's right here, so that's good. And then we have another branch, and then all of our flowers are in there too. So we're off to the races. We're ready to rock and roll. We're going to finalize this piece in this shape here, the torso, before we add anything to it. And then that's all we have to do is add things to it. As we've been going along this week, I've been watching John put these things together. We do have a piece down here he made earlier, so you can come down and check it out. It is an arm and a hand, and the bicep of the piece is a tree form, and then there's branches coming from that tree form, so it's as if the arm is emerging from the tree, and then flowers on the tree as well. So there's a lot of seams in this piece. There's a lot of parts of the piece where one section went onto another section, and John is very good at pretending like that isn't there, so really kind of blending it together, getting rid of the seam. So he has that kind of showcase of those efforts on this piece. You can come down and see that. So when we're going to add all these things together, as we do, we're going to blend them together, and that's where a lot of the time for this is going to take over. So we have a bit of glass coming over. Marta has created it. We're going to add it right to the very top of the breast. So details are important. This is a kind of a classical Greek or Roman sculpture. So we do have an eye for detail for this. And we'll make sure that is set before we move on to the rest of the piece. Yeah, what's your question? More or less, yeah. We do have a belly. I forgot about the belly. We have a pregnant belly in one of the ovens as well. So basically, we're going to have the belly, this kind of half of the female torso, the arm going down holding the snake, and then tree parts up on this side here. Yeah. There's a lot going on. I know it's a bit hard to visualize. We do have the sketch down here. The more I explain it as well, that could help too. So if you want more explanation, I can help out. Yeah, that's your question. What? Yeah, how does everything get put together? Very carefully. But we take one thing at a time out of either its oven, they're all in ovens. So out of the oven, and then we heat the area that we want to attach it to first, and hot glass will stick to hot glass. So once you have that piece out of the oven, you can just stick it right onto the piece as long as the receiving end is hot enough to be able to stick. And then you really want to make sure those temperatures are nice, and then he'll blend it together, and then it'll be good to go. Yeah. That's nice. We can also gather fresh glass from the oven and use it kind of like glue and stick the glass to that. But for this piece, he's going to heat the area in which it's going to stick onto. Yeah. Sure. What's your question? That's a good question. The oven that we're working out of, that really bright one over there, that's 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's really hot. Yeah. We have a lot of ovens up right now. Some of our ovens over there are at 1,000 degrees, so that's a lot. Our furnace that holds all of our glass is also at that 2,100 degree mark, and then we have a few more 1,000 degree ovens over there. So we're nice and cozy back here in this hot shop. We use a kind of variance of different types of tools. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we are making, we're going to make a female figure, a pregnant female figure with an arm coming out that's holding onto a snake. And there's going to be tree parts coming off of it and flowers. So pretty intense piece. It's going to be fun. Awesome. So like I mentioned earlier, we are live streaming as well. So this is being filmed and is currently on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page. So if you do need to move along throughout the museum or to different plans, you can still tune in to what we're doing here. So we're going to add a bit more color to this. So we're sifting on powder. Now that's our glass powder. It's going to be sifted onto parts that are hot to where that powder will stick. And we do have this really big vacuum there that's going to take that powder away from our airspace. So that's a really important part of that, is to get that away from our airspace. So we have that big vacuum here. And then into our oven to melt that color back in. That powder, you can just wipe it right off. So we really want to go back in and melt it, smooth it all out. Yeah. Sure. So we're going to add a little extra heat to this section, because it tends to really be on the colder side, and if this gets too cold, we could run into some problems, so we'll add a little extra. So we really want to keep our glass above about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And so if any part of this glass gets too cold, below about maybe 900 degrees Fahrenheit, it could crack and it could break. And especially that section of the pipe that has just a little bit of glass on it, that's holding that onto the pipe. So we really want to keep that nice and warm. So sometimes that becomes a duty of somebody. So we'll keep an eye on it. All right. Okay, we're good to go.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Oh, so yeah, fan speed. Interesting. There we go. Okay. Yeah, let me, okay. The inspiration for this piece, that's a question I'll have to ask John. I don't know it, but I do know that when he came here, he had a little bit of a game plan of what he wanted to do, and when he came here, he then switched it up and decided that he really wanted to work on these pieces. So we have a piece that we worked on earlier, the arm that's coming out with the tree branches and the flowers, and then this piece is very similar to it, but a bit more elaborate. So something compelled him when he got here to really work on this series, so we'll check in with him a little bit later on that. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So John is a very well-known artist in the glass community, and a lot of his work is quite conceptual and artistic. So he does a lot of kind of politically driven work as well. Let's see here. Mixed media artist, and he also is the co-founder of Gent Glas, which is in Belgium. So that's where he is from. He and Marta are from, and they've come all the way from there to here for this residency. So I'll read a little bit of this background information on John. His work is often socio-political in nature, focused on existential and philosophical challenges facing contemporary society. So a bit on that. In his work, he often tries to bring cultural differences, opposing viewpoints, and contradictory beliefs into an open discussion. So very conceptual artist. I believe this piece has a little bit of inspiration to do with Medusa. Yeah. So we've drilled a hole into this. So in our reheating chamber camera there, you're seeing the hole that we've drilled in. In order to add all of these things to the piece, we want to make sure that the pieces are connected in a way that we have air flowing between them. And when we have all those connections open, we can then also, no worries, blow glass or blow air through them. So we have another bit going on to the piece. Maybe we're opening this up a bit.
Yeah, the bit's going to be the tree bark. So
Okay.
that's where, like, that one side, I'm going to start transitioning that. I'm going to open this up and stick the belly into it.
Okay, great, great. So thanks, John. He's going to start to open this up so that we can stick the belly to it. The belly does have an opening, so we're going to try to marry those two sections together. And then the other side, he said, the bit that's going to be on the other part of the torso is going to be part of the bark. So we're going to start to add some of those characteristics of the tree into the vessel. In our garage, we have a tree chunk, and then we have a few more tree branches in one of those pickup kilns. We've got at least 3 to go on. So hot glass will move quite a bit. You can get in there and start to open that piece up. And then back into the oven. When Jeff goes into this oven, he's heating the entire thing up so it stays above 1,000 degrees. We don't really want to neglect any form of this, but we also don't want to get the entire thing so hot that the whole thing's moving. We've already established a lot of fine detail and importance in this piece, and we don't want the whole thing to move. So we'll just really focus heat on the areas that we do, but of course keeping it above about 900 or 1,000. So John is using a tool called a pair of jacks. They're used for many different things. He's using them to open that up a bit. You're seeing some smoke coming from that tool. It's made of stainless steel. Stainless steel isn't going to burn or melt at that temperature, but the coating on the jacks, the beeswax, will. So that's what you're seeing the smoke coming from. Yeah, what's your question? Yeah, good question. Why do we keep using the blowtorch to heat up parts of the glass? In order to keep that kind of colder section of the glass a little bit hotter, we'll add a little extra heat to that section. And that's just so that we don't have to stay in the oven so much and burn away all that detail. Yeah, we call that spot heating. Good question. Look at all that heat. You can tell the temperature of the glass by the way it's glowing. Now, again, around that 1,000-degree mark, there isn't really much tell in the glass. So it looks room temperature. It looks like it's cold. But after that, you can't really tell the temperature. But when it's moving around, it's usually glowing there. That's a good way to read it. So remember, pregnant belly. So he'll really kind of maybe start to get a bit of that bump going. And we have measured the pregnant belly already. And he keeps going back to measure it again, measure this so that we know that the two will fit together. And it's in one of those pickup kilns. And John decided he's just going to grab it out and put it onto the piece. So that'll be fun when it comes time. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. In order to become a glass artist, so there's many different ways, but one way is to go to school. So you can go to college. You can even find it in some high schools or middle schools around the U.S. When you go to school, you get to learn about glassmaking as kind of an artistic way. So like John has learned it. There are also ways that you can get a job in a glassmaking facility. You can work for someone who is their own artist, or you can work in kind of a glass factory setting as well. Or you could take a glass blowing class. They offer classes outside of any sort of school. We offer them next door at the studio. We have intermediate and beginning classes and advanced classes all year round, so you can check that out. But yeah, so usually someone teaches you. It's a tough one to learn on your own, but yeah. Awesome. So opening that up a bit more. And then we're working on a bit here. So Marta has a bit of glass. She's rolled it. We had a question a little bit before the live stream of do we have a recipe of the pattern of the color that we're adding on? Because we're adding lots of color onto it. So basically, is there like a rhyme and reason? There is. In order to get the same color look to each piece, John's written it down. So for this piece here, when we added all the color to it, it was 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 rolls in the color of maybe 5 or 6 different colors. And then we gathered over it and did the same thing over again. So a lot of color has gone into that piece. Same with this one. So then you see Marta's kind of pulling all that glass off, and then it's going to drain the rest of that clear glass off. And then we're going to coat it with more color. So we're going to go back here and use more color on that. So there's a bit of a recipe, which is good because when you make a lot of these pieces, you're making them, if you make them over and over again and you want that consistency throughout, it's good to have a reference. So we're rolling right along. We're going to start adding the arm onto this eventually, sooner than later. And I think that's what's happening next, is starting the arm instead of the belly.
I'm just afraid it's going to be too hot. So in between all these rolls of color, Marta is adding texture into the piece. For this to be tree-like, we want tree bark and organic forms on this, on the texture, for the texture. So she's taking some tweezers and pulling it along that gather.
and then she goes back and she rolls color on it. And when you put those kind of gashes in the glass, sometimes the color doesn't go all the way into it, so you're able to see different colors throughout the piece. So Jeff's cooling the pipe for just a moment. When we go into that oven over and over again, sometimes that heat can transfer down the pipe. That pipe is made of stainless steel. Stainless steel is a pretty poor conductor of heat, but about a foot away from where the glass is located on the pipe, it's generally hot there all the time while we're working with glass on the end of it. When we're heating over and over like this, the transfer starts to kind of get a little bit farther down the pipe. Jeff has a glove on his right hand, mostly for grip, but also because, you know, it is a little bit warmer on that side. If he feels it through the glove, which we do have a little bit of a warning, it just starts to get a little bit warm, then we say, well, we might want to cool the pipe down a little bit. So we have the trough there. We can add a little bit of water to the pipe, and that will be our ability to cool that down. Helen has also used a little bit of air compression on the pipe sometimes while we're over there, just kind of minimally, to aid in a little bit of the cooling down of the pipe. So I see a little bit of new faces. We have John Moran here, the winner of season 3 of Blown Away. He's here serving out the residency that he won during that TV show. And so he's been here for the past 4 days. This is day 4 of his residency. And we've made a lot of different things, one of which is some of the work down here you can come and check out as well. But for this piece, we've been working on it for over a day and a half. So we started working on this piece yesterday, making flowers, tree parts. We've made a hand and a forearm with a snake rolling around it, and that will be coming out of the hand. And the belly, we made the belly this morning. So now we're working on the upper part of the torso, and this section has already been made. The bicep has already been made too, and now we're going to work. There's also going to be tree bark coming over on this side of the piece, and then the flowers are going to go on. So it's going to be quite awesome. So inside sculpting with the tool here will allow us to kind of press little areas that we need to get more texture from the inside of this piece. Keeping the whole piece above 1,000 degrees while we're working with it. But the areas that we want to move, those are where we're going to focus our heat on. So we have a few torches that we do that with, one of which is just kind of an overall heat. So about a 2,000 degree heat. That's the bigger, we call it the fluffy torch, the one that's on right now. And then John has a smaller torch, and that torch is can be about 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit. So it can really be a hot torch. And he can use that to spot heat quickly areas of the glass, and then that's the part that he can move faster than the rest of it. So adding 2 torches here, Helen's just going to keep the back side of this piece. We call that part the moil of the glass there, the moil on the pipe. We're going to keep that nice and warm while John focuses heat on areas that he wants to move. Yeah, what's your question? How do you make it cool? Yeah, in order to let the glass kind of harden a little bit. How do we do that? We just, you had it. We just let it cool. So we can take it out of the oven, and it's really gooey. And if you just leave it there and just kind of, you could watch it just start to stop moving, and then you're good. Now, it could also, once it stops moving, you know, you could leave it for a while, and it'll still, you know our glass, the glass that we interact with every day is hard as well. It's rigid. And so from anywhere between where it's rigid at 1,000 degrees down, it could really be any sort of temperature there. Yeah. But the key here is guessing the temperature, making sure that it stays above 1,000 degrees, and that takes a lot of time and experience to do that. Yeah. What's your question? What's my name? My name is Katie. What's your name? Nice to meet you. So we're cooling the pipe down again. And that's okay. The pipe seems to be getting a little hotter. But we won't be using this pipe the whole time. I hear we're going to transfer this onto a new iron, but we're going to have other things on the piece before we do that too. We'll get to that. Okay, adding some tree bark to the other side of the piece, a big bit added on to the side, and then we're going to cut that free. And now we can sculpt that. So here's where our glass is really warm and gooey, and he'll make lines and gashes in this to really enhance the organic matter for this part here. He's using a tool called a taglio, pushing that into it to create these lines, but the rest of the piece isn't moving, so that's the rigidity we're working with. And you can see the other part, the new part's glowing, and as we start to let it cool down, it'll start to harden more and more. Good example of that. We still have a lot of working temperature in that big blob that we added on to the side, that tree bark there, but we have to go into the oven. We can't keep working on it if the rest of the piece is getting too cold. So pushing, pulling that back down. We do kind of want a map of the tree bark in that area. So sometimes just adding that splash of color will help our kind of mind see that as tree too. Okay, so over here on our smaller bench, Eric has taken out the bicep of our form. The bicep will go on to the opposite side of the bark that we added. There's a lot of heat coming from this piece. Now, John actually has a sleeve on his arm that's protecting his arm. It was honestly there for some of the action earlier, but it's helpful to still leave it on. We can put gloves on because we are working very close to this piece. But there is a little bit of radiant heat coming from that. So that's what Marta's job is there. She's keeping John as comfortable as possible, shielding him from some of that heat. A wooden paddle works just fine for that. In making a big piece like this, we want to make sure all of our proportions are right. So watch this. We're going to do a price check. We're going to see if that bicep matches up nicely. I think he likes it. So we're going to get the part that we want the bicep to attach to as hot as we need it to be in order to attach it. That's kind of variable. We don't have an exact readout of a lot of these temperatures, but we do have experience in what works and what doesn't work. So when we're ready to heat that area, we will. And a nice glow helps quite a bit, kind of knowing that glass is hot enough. And it also depends a little bit on how we want that connection to look. If we really want to press the glass into the vessel, we'll heat that up a bit so we can push it in. And if we just want it to sit on the top, we won't heat it as much. But we do want that connection to be fused. And that happens at a certain temperature, so a little bit of a higher one. So again, heating those areas up and sculpting them as we go. You can see a lot of that color buildup. While things are hot like this and we're working with it with color on the glass, it's a bit difficult to tell exactly what it will look like when it's totally complete. There are some colors that look completely different when they're warm. I'd say the pinky color that we have as the skin tone seems to be what it will look like when it's cold, based on what we've already made with that same color on it. But the wood and the flowers might look a little different when we get those added on too. There are a lot of different tools that we can use for texture. Really anything, as long as it doesn't burn or melt. John has a variety of butter knives that work really well in sculpting glass. When he sculpted the hand, he used them primarily, and you could see a lot of the bends that he made in particular butter knives were for a purpose of maybe adding a very particular, precise characteristic in the hand. So you can make your own glass tools. Otherwise, we get a lot of our tools made from glass tool makers. There are about 5 major ones in the U.S., in the world, excuse me. It's only 2 in the U.S. 2 or 3. So really adding texture to this. He's using a tool, just some crimps, kind of rose petal crimps. And of course, heat. We do have a glove on our sculpting hand now. If we stay there for too long, we would get a burn, but there are emergency systems in our brain that say pull away from the heat. So that's usually what keeps us safe in the hot shop. But when we want to have more time with the glass, we want to be closer to it and shape it for longer instead of having to keep pulling our hand away, that's when the glove comes in. God. We're going to add a little extra color to an area. Marta's going to take the pipe and give it a brief heat, and then they're going to sift some color onto it. So we've got our vacuum on. We've got our sifter ready.
All around the tree bark area.
Thank you. So just sifting on some color. That's going to help blend the body of the figure to the tree. So there's emergence of the body and the tree kind of together as one with this piece, the idea of that. So blending it with colors, it's a great idea. So carrying it back over, we're going to melt that color in. And then areas where we want to change that, we'll heat in a little bit more again. Good time for questions. If there's any curiosities out there, any questions I can answer. Awesome. There's a lot of pattern work with sculpting, a lot of details with sculpting. John himself is a very detail-oriented sculptor. If you look on his website, you can see some of that. Does somebody have a question up there? Oh, good question. When would someone wear one of those space suits? That we call that our silver suit, and it's Kevlar with a reflective coating on it. We might wear it for this one. We usually put it on when we're going to hold the glass to put it away into our 900-degree annealing oven. So we might do that later today. Yeah, that's a big protective suit that will allow us to use our entire body, right? Core strength, maybe hold things against ourselves when carrying them as well. So yeah, we'll probably put that one on today. Good question. So a few things to check out for John Moran if you want to see his work yourself. You want to go to his website, which is backdoorart.com. So we have some of this information over here on this lovely whiteboard. The names of both John Moran and Marta as well. So backdoorart.com is John's, and then his Instagram handles at John Sleepy Moran. So you can watch him update about his life, his artwork, and about this too. You can see more pictures of what we've been doing here, apart from just the live stream. Pictures of the making of this piece here, and other things. So we're going to heat up the area in order for us to put the arm on. We have a hole there, so we can continue that throughway of air. So the arm is open where it will connect, and then maybe we haven't made the hole yet, but we will. There we go. Start to open it up a bit more. So the arm is hollow, this part. So is this part. The hand is solid. There's no bubble in the hand. We just said need one. But working a little bit bigger, like the torso and the belly, we don't want that to be solid. That's going to be very heavy. That would make a very heavy piece. But you saw the advantage of making a piece hollow. We could also push from the inside. So sculpt the piece from the inside. So who here has seen Blown Away? Wow, so many of us. Very cool. Well, I hear there's going to be a season 4. So stay tuned for season 4. I'm not sure anything more about that, but season 4 will be around. John Moran is winner season 3, and we've had our season 2 and 1 winners already. But also stay tuned this weekend. We have our 2 runner-ups for season 3 coming in. We've got Minhee, England, and John Sharvin. Those 2 are going to be here to do a shops residency for 2 days, and then they're going to collaborate the two of them on a piece that will be live streamed on Monday. So lots of live streams happening. We also have much more summer programming for live streams as well. So tune in with us. Follow us on social media. Keep an eye on us on YouTube. And you'll get to see as much glass as possible. But if you haven't seen Blown Away on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It is a very interesting, of course, I love glass, so I love the show, and it's a very interesting way that they've done it. They've done it really nicely to where the episodes are, they're fun, and they've made glass look really great and fun, and it is true. So check it out. Oh, and don't forget about the Christmas special. 3 seasons and the Christmas special. All right, so look at the glow in that. That section we're going to add that arm to is glowing nicely. That'll tell us the temperature is warm enough for it to stick. And Eric's got the arm out of our garage. So our garage is called kind of a babysitter. It allows us to put pieces into it that we can take out. So it gives us a chance to put that piece away for a second, but also take it out to work on it again. So it's at a higher temperature of about 1,000 degrees. When we are finished with our pieces, we'll put it into the annealing oven. They'll sit there until the end of the day, and then we'll send it down onto its annealing cycle. And that can take anywhere between 6 hours and sometimes days and sometimes weeks and sometimes months to anneal work. The thicker the glass is, the longer it needs to anneal. So a piece like this, the thickest part is probably going to be the hand, which is it's thick enough, but also we have lots of parts coming together. We have lots of seams, so this one might take quite some time, maybe a little longer than a day to cool down slowly in an oven. Yeah. Right behind you. Just going to peek. You said 11, John? 11? So I'm turning this box up. There's lots happening behind me. I think we're ready for the arm. Watch this. We break it off of that iron. John's got it in his Kevlar gloves. He brings it over slowly and cautiously, and he's going to stick it down onto the body of the piece. And we have a bicep, everybody. Let's give the team a big round of applause for that one. Thank you very much. Part 1 of many to come. But that's one less piece in the garage to think about too, so kind of consolidating where all of our pieces are will start to come together. So now we're going to think about blending that. You can see the seam between the two bubbles, and we want that to go away. So we're going to heat it in. We're going to smooth the texture of that down. We're going to add a bit more of powder texture onto it to take away from the shine of the glass. Glass is shiny, and so in order to make it a bit matte, there's a few things you could do. You could take it to have it cold, make sure your glass is cold, take it to your sandblaster and blast the outside of that glass, make it matte finished. You could also use acid etching for it with lots of education and protective equipment for things like that. Or you can add powder to the surface and not melt that powder in completely, to where it becomes so smooth. So he even just said, let's start melting the seam in. We're going to use that torch to really melt that kind of away, and then add more color to it to hide it. Using another little cork paddle there, smoothing that down. Such an interesting reheating chamber view of our piece up into the body of it. Earlier, when we were sculpting the hand, what you see inside of our reheating chamber when we had the hand off the pipe, so the pipe was coming this way, is a hand reaching in to the reheating chamber, and that's not usually something we want to see. And so it's a bit creepy. In general, you know, we think, oh man, that looks bad, but also the hand kind of had a very lazy gesture of reaching, so it was quite eerie and fun. John got a couple photos of that. You might see them pop up on social media. So the next step would be to add the belly. We've turned up the oven it's in to a little bit of a higher temperature so that it's a happier belly before it comes out, gets put onto the glass. Now we're just going to regulate some temperature. So I hope you're hearing some of that on the mic. Just kind of the plan of what we're doing here and where we're at. Working on the seam, then working on where the rest of this is going to go on together. All right, belly's next. We're going to start setting up to put the belly on. Yeah, 11. Okay. Okay. So our belly's going to add a little bit of weight to this. So we're thinking about that. And again, where things connect, we want the area that it's going to connect to be nice and warm. So we're going to use the hot torch to heat up that glass. And then we'll also have another seam that will need to melt away. Yeah. Do you want this? These are the same as those. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. You've got your dirty hoodie on? Good. Okay, the belly's happening. So he's going to come grab the belly, and then he's going to watch his feet in the yoke, Helen. Okay. Thanks, guys. Here it comes. Grabbing it out. He'll bring it over, and then he's going to stick it right into that cavity. All right. Bring it over to the yoke, and then into the oven. And we have a pregnant belly. Thank you very much. So we're going to work on heating that section in, melting it out, shaping it up. And maybe not taking it off the yoke. So really pushing a lot into the cavity of the piece. And this is all one shot. You get one shot to do this. It is tough sometimes. We got it on there and it looks good. So we'll start to work that in again. Any questions? We have a chance. Awesome. None online. Let's see. Awesome. Pushing the belly into the top part to get, once again, the right dimensions. What's that? Why are we doing what? Say that again. Yeah. Why are they heating the end attached to the pole? They're heating that area there because it's the coldest part, and we want to keep that one not from cracking. Yeah, or else the whole piece will break off of the pipe. So yeah, generally the last thing into that oven, and then the first thing out is that back part, and that adds up. It really does keep it a little on the colder side, and to put it all the way into the oven means we're putting that whole piece deep into the oven, and that's heating the pipe up too. So it's an area of the piece that's difficult to keep warm. So we'll add extra heat to that. Yeah. Nice, thanks. So you see how much torque it's taking to get that piece from the yoke that's guiding it into that oven and back onto the bench. We're working with some, I would say, at least 20 pounds on the end of that iron. Maybe a little less. Now we need to start working on that seam, getting it to blend in to the belly. We are still going to add on the forearm and the hand with the snake wrapped around it, and then a few branches with flowers on it. So we have much in store as well. Sure.
I don't think I'm going to put on parts on this because it's not good. Okay. So I'm going to just try to
All right. Working that heat in a bit more. We have two different kind of like levels of that glass. We really want to get that to melt down. And for those of you who have joined us here at the museum, we are live streaming. And so this can be found right now on the internet. Of course, you're here, so you don't have to go onto the internet to see it. But you can later on, when everything's finished, it's being recorded and live streamed. And so we'll have this on our website along with the final piece, too. So keep that in mind. If you want to see the final piece that we're working with, you can check this out on YouTube. But this is John Moran, Season 3 winner of Blown Away, Netflix's glass competition show. So when you win the season of Netflix, or of Blown Away, you come here to the Corning Museum of Glass for a residency. And he has been here all week long working with our team to make whatever he wants to make. So he's got this kind of line of work that he's been focusing on that involves kind of organic matter coming from kind of human form. There's a lot to it. You can check out what we've been making on our social media pages and on John's social media page, John Sleepy Moran. The @ comes before that, @ John Sleepy Moran. Okay, so a little change of plans. We're going to finish this piece here, put it away into an oven to slowly cool overnight. But then we're going to pick up the arm attached to, that has the snake around it, and we're going to attach the rest of the snake to it and finish up the arm with you all. So later on, we'll think about the attachment of putting these two together. But we decided to kind of change plans a little bit, and then we'll focus on the arm. So we do get to see that arm come out. And we'll think about attaching it later on, if it so goes so that way. All right, so getting this into the oven, it's going to require some muscle. We have one of our ovens up at 2,000, I'm sorry, at 960 degrees. That's the oven at which we keep or the temperature at which we keep our ovens at. We have two of them up, so we'll see which one we put this one into. So debating on this, seeing what we're going to do next for it. And here comes the silver suit I spoke about earlier. Kevlar with reflective coating onto Spaceman. I'll put that away. Yeah. So we're getting ready to put this away into the oven, and then we'll pick up that arm and get that one all situated, and then attach these later on maybe. Any questions so far? Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we have a little bit of movement. When Eric stops turning, you can see it starting to kind of fall. It tells us we've got a nice heat there to take that off. And then Jeff is going to take it in his arms and bring it up into its Fiberfrax bed inside of a nice warm annealer. So we're going to do that. All right. So we have Kevlar gloves on, our Kevlar spacesuit and total head hood over there on Jeff, and Jeff's going to catch it. So here we go. Jeff's going to get underneath it there and add a couple of drops of water onto that area where we want this to break there. That connection will help us. And a light tap. Breaks it off beautifully. Into our annealing oven it goes. Jeff will press it or place it down. And then we'll see that piece later on after about 8. Well, we'll see what time we put on that. Let's get a big round of applause for John Moran and team, everyone. Thank you. We're going to continue on by picking up the arm that we have in our kiln. So we're going to put that kiln up to around about 1,000 degrees. Yeah, I'm sorry, 1,100 degrees. All right, so we want to pick this up. So we're going to get one of those bigger pipes because this is going to have a bit of weight to it as well. And what we're going to start with is a punty. Well, we put that oven up to about 1100 degrees so we can get it out, and it'll be a little bit happier when it comes out into our room temperature. If the glass is less hot, if it's colder than that, when we bring it out, we could shock it with our outside air. So we want to equip it with a little bit more temperature. Any hotter than 1100 degrees, and it could start to slump and move around in the oven that it's in now. So we don't really want to heat it up much more than that, but 11 is nice for us for this piece. Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna take the hand out, so it's gonna probably attach right here. The punty's gonna attach right here. There's a snake that wraps around, and then there's a head separate that he'll put that onto it. That's what they're gonna do now. Yeah. It just what? We put that in the kneeler because we want to maybe think about the way it's going to connect later on. We're not sure about how we're going to work with that piece. That one's, we're putting it in a moment. We're going to think about it. That's kind of all the information I've been given for that one, but yeah. Yeah, we're still thinking about that one. Yeah. Yeah, what's your question? Say that again. They're going to make this, well, they've already made the snake, but they're going to take the arm out with the snake on it really soon. And then they're going to put the head on the snake. So you'll get to see all of that here in just a second. So maybe the next 5 minutes or so. So yeah. So we have a little bit of glass on the end of that iron. They've blown through it so that we have an opening. And then they're going to attach that glass to the arm. You want to let that punty set up just a little bit before you attach it right to that arm. If it's too hot, it might crack it. And if it's moving too much, when you get the arm on there, it has some weight to it. The arm's just going to, it's going to be too out of control. It's going to just fall. So we'll control it a bit more. And then to stick it onto that punty, I see John's got some more Kevlar gloves. I think he's just going to grab it out of the oven and stick it right on. Pretty hands-on. So a little torch onto the end will help it adhere. And then we'll pick it up. All right, here we go. Look at that hand. Look at that snake on it. He'll smoosh it onto the side. And then we'll put it into our oven to reheat it. This is so cool looking. Isn't that cool? We've got a snake wrapped around an arm. Okay, now you can see how fun it looks in our oven. Look at that. That's not something you see every day. Putting an arm inside of a 2,100 degree oven. All right, so we want to really start to heat into that again. It's cold. We want to start to get it up to a nice, happy temperature. And then the snake's head is in there too, and we'll attach that. And we have some other things that we could attach to it. We'll see exactly what John has planned for this. If he wanted to do any flowers. The flowers he intended for this piece are mountain lilies, purple mountain lilies. So they've made a handful of those already. That's better. Then now we're going to start to heat in that area, get it really molten so we can stick the head into that section. And we'll get rid of the seam. So we'll add that hot torch to it. The hot torch really hasn't been around very much in this hot shop setting. So glass blowing has been around for a very long time, for 2,000 years. They didn't have hot torches like this back then. But since we've been using them a bit more modernly in our modern times, there are a lot of detail-oriented glass sculptures and sculptors coming out of the use of it. So it's really been a great forefront for that. Look at this. We have the head of our snake going right on. So there's the head. They'll stick right into the body of the piece, and it comes right off of the hand. There it is. Did you see the snake? Isn't that cool? Wow, that's awesome. So our female is holding on to the snake. You can see how the gloves are so useful. And I didn't see this, but I think that he heated up the fingers of the hand so that he can fold. So he had it open. He had the end of the snake in there, and now the head. Now he heated up the fingers so he can fold the fingers around the snake. So when he does that, it looks like, and it is grabbing the snake, holding on to it. Did you guys hear that glass breaking? It was nothing important, don't worry. The glass breaks off of our pipes when we put our pipes away into our break-off bucket, so the pipes can break that glass off themselves. Glass has what we call a coefficient of expansion, which means when it gets hot, it expands, and when it cools down, it contracts. And that happens at a particular rate. And our glass has a pretty high rate of that, so it expands a lot. Not a lot, but a lot for glass. And it contracts. When it's on an iron like that, stainless steel, the stainless steel has a different coefficient of expansion, and it's a bit quicker. It's going to shoot that glass off of it. So that's what you're hearing. It's just the rest of that stuff, that moil we were trying to keep hot the whole time, that just broke off the pipe. So it's kind of a self-cleaning system, which is nice. So we have that over there. We don't have to worry about that. We'll get the hand wrapped around the snake. Any questions I can answer for you all? Awesome. Well, I'll be here for you if you do have some. So this snake is green. You can see a bit of that. This green's going to look a little different when it's hot. It's probably going to, it seems a little bit more dim than the green I think they chose. So we're going to work again to keep that moil hot. So Helen's going to torch it. And we've got a nice curve going for the snake. We have a particular gesture that we want to convey with this snake. With the hand as well, and the way we point the hand and twist the arm. Before John was a glassblower, he was a painter. So he started by going to into an art program for painting. Found glassblowing there instead. It's a very common kind of story for a lot of different glassmakers. So he's got quite a bit of talent behind him in illustration and in painting. And a lot of that is conveyed in his own artwork, his own glass three-dimensional artwork. So there's a lot of time that goes into sculpture. The hand itself took maybe 2 or 3 hours, well, maybe an hour and a half or so to make. And John said that he's made those a lot throughout his career, and so that came pretty fast. The arm took about the same time, and then connecting them together and blending and stuff, that took a bit of time as well. So maybe 3 hours for the arm and the hand. The snake happened pretty quickly, but then we added lots of detail to it. So we have, like I mentioned earlier, there you can make a tool out of anything, and what we have is this kind of folded metal grate that's woven a bit tighter than what we might walk on, that kind of a grate. But this makes for really good snake scales. So he did that up and kind of smoothed it onto the snake, kind of patted it down like a stamp. So we've got this one, and we've got this larger one too. So that created the texture in the snake. And then he did that for the head as well. And now they're connected together. So when we smooth that down a little bit more, since we covered it up with the hand, we might not add too much texture to it, but it looks really nice. Snake texture looks great.
So John's over looking for some color. We're going to add a little bit of color to that area. Like I mentioned earlier, we can add glass color to the glass, but you have to use it pre-made if you're going to add it to clear. To make glass color, you add a metal oxide into the material, no worries. There's colors here.
We're looking for the cross thing for the snakes.
Oh, I have it. I'm holding it. Sorry, guys. I had it over there the whole time. Oh. We're good. Good job. We're nimble. Don't worry. Actually, I'll just turn it off. So I was holding the snake pattern, and he needed it. So now he's going to add more of that pattern. So heating the area, it's nice to get just the surface hot. Pressing that into it creates that pattern nicely. It also smooths that seam out a bit. It is. It's still up. So we have 2 annealers up. The annealer is what guides our glass down to room temperature. We're debating whether to put them together or not. But we have many to use here. Yes, what's your question? Well, this thing is a big vacuum. Yeah, we were using it for some glass powder adding, and glass powder is a carcinogen, so we put it into this tube and it gets it out of our airspace. Yeah. It has quite the presence here on our floor. So glad you asked. So we're going to heat up the punty. When it's ready, we will break it off and put it away into our oven. We have some stairs ready, but I don't think we'll need it for this one, which is nice. All right, but this will be our final piece that we're going to work on here. We're going to finish this by putting it into our oven. And then that will be all for us. All right, so Jeff's going to catch it with a pair of Kevlar gloves and cotton. He's going for a cotton this time with smaller size. We don't need the spacesuit, because you could keep the arm at arm's length and not close to his body. Put it away into our oven. But we do need to break it free from its punty connection. So to do that, we'll thermally shock that area. And with a drop or 2 of water, that will do the cracking, and a tap on the pipe will send that free and off of the pipe. He'll catch it and a light tap. Beautifully done. We'll bring it away into our annealing oven. And we'll let this slowly cool overnight. These pieces might take a little bit more than a day or 2, and we'll see as they
come together or not, but that is John Moran, everybody. We also want to thank Marta Byrdziak. We want to thank, no problem. We want to thank Jeff Mack, Helen Tegler. We want to thank our filming team, our AV team. We have Brad, Jason, and Alexis. Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did, but thank you all, our audience, for being here with us, and our fans of Blown Away as well. It's been wonderful to see you all here at the museum and to hear from you online. So thank you so much, and I sign off. Thanks again.